So this idea was birthed after the 2024 election. I realized that I'd been avoiding you, that I didn't want to talk about what was going on to the lead up of this election. And once I woke up the next day and noticed that the country was completely red, it really was quite clear that the media that I was being fed was very different than what the rest of the country and my conservative Republican friend was being fed. And so I immediately thought, we've got to talk about this. I know that we can navigate things in a different way, and that we've been friends for so long, and we're not afraid to talk about these things, that it was important for us to humanize this situation so that maybe other people could start talking and listening.
And isn't that funny? Because I think I look at you and we've been friends since college, and you were like the first liberal person that I had ever met. I mean, I was 17 years old, and here was this cute little redhead from California, San Francisco, in Iowa City, Iowa. And like, this was such a great opportunity. I mean, I looked at it as, meeting someone who was so cool and different and wasn't from Pleasantville, Iowa. And so, it was such a great opportunity. And I think we've always taken this relationship since freshman in college and been able to learn from each other, and like in a way that is respectful and helpful. And, I can go, what the hell? Why do you guys think of this? And you come back to me and say the same thing. And it's been so great to hear your perspective. And I don't know that a lot of people have that opportunity or take that opportunity. I mean, maybe that's a whole nother conversation, but I think it's a unique relationship that you and I have that we want to share with others.
We are the enemy. I'm the enemy. Yeah. You are the enemy. And I know in my bones that we're not. And that when you and I have talked about the tough stuff from the beginning of our friendship, we always find so much commonality. And it's not that soundbite that politicians say all the time that ends up sounding so disingenuous. Like, we actually live it.
I think we do it with an effort to understand each other. Like, okay, I don't get why someone would think that. And so we can have this dialogue, whereas a lot of people right now are looking, as you said, for sound bites and clicking behind a screen and saying, you're an idiot, because they can say things on a computer or on a phone that they wouldn't say face to face.
Absolutely. You would never, ever treat someone the way we are treating each other online.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, we met in the fall of 1987, and there were no cell phones, and there were no computers, and we wrote letters. Remember letters?
Mm-hmm.
We come from that place, and I think we've continued, no matter what technology has come since then, that we honor the friendship first. Yeah. And I've never tried to change your mind. And you haven't with me either. You tried to get me to change your mind when the 2016 election with Hillary. And I have to say, it was totally impossible. And I didn't want to. That was a tough one when Hillary lost, and I knew that you did not like her. And I was crushed. I mean, I was just crushed. I feel like that whole next day I couldn't stop crying. You were, okay.
Oh my God, are you going to cry right now?
You were so loving and kind, and you immediately reached out to me. And I thought, wow, like, I have this incredible friend. That you didn't go, ha ha, and that's sort of where we are now. Yeah. This ha ha, like, ha ha, but this sort of place of, we just are so mad at each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I saw a thing on, an Instagram meme thing, and it said, we are a generation of sad people with happy pictures.
Oh, God, that's so good.
It's so good. And that's sort of where I feel like we are. It's like everything is about proving who we are via video or phone or I've been on Facebook in 500 years, but like that status
Me too.
update, and you had friends that it was like they didn't actually eat the food until they posted it. I mean, even if they ate it, it didn't really exist until it was posted or the status updated. How do we move forward? I know we're sort of diverging here, but I think that's why you and I are so passionate about this project.
And for me, as I was reading Instagram posts from my liberal friends who said, if you voted for Trump, then you can just, unfriend me right now because you're a racist and a homophobe and a narcissist. And I'm like, I am none of those things. And so, I mean, that, like, for people to have that mentality that who you voted for defines you is just like we've absolutely then lost the art of conversation, because if that's the post that you choose to put out into the world, then you're closing yourself off, right? I mean,
absolutely.
You've made an assumption about somebody, and that's what you're going to stick with, and be damned the facts. I've already made up my mind,
I mean, I understand that we, as human beings, we are fairly tribal, and we've become incredibly tribal in this time. But if we're looking at how America was founded, and I know, honestly, it's a bunch of bullshit, and I'm learning that, like, the PR is staggeringly different than the reality of, like, how this country was formed, who had rights, who didn't, who was killed, who wasn't, all of those things. But if we're looking at the free to be you and me version that I learned in the 70s, do you know what Free to Be You and Me is?
Yes, I remember those on Saturday mornings.
Loved that record. I loved. I was like, so like kumbaya San Francisco girl. But the Free to Be You and Me or Sesame Street, where all the colors of the kids and everybody got along.
Yeah.
What I thought was we were a melting pot of human beings. Isn't it much more interesting if we all aren't the same and we all don't think the same and we all don't, like, that doesn't mean we should be hateful, and let's talk to each other, right?
Yep, right. And let's not assume we've painted this narrative in our head of all the people that voted for Kamala or Trump, that we've painted this picture in our head of who that person is. And we have absolutely no idea who that person is.
Of course not. We're learning about them on the television screen, the phone, through Instagram. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Like if you go back to, we are a people, a sad people with happy pictures. Everybody is telling a story and telling their maybe the best version of themselves. And then because there's access to so much, God forbid a woman gets angry, then you're a Karen.
Yep.
Or you have an emotional response, or you act badly, and then that is recorded. You're fucked. Like, that's it. That's who you are. Actually, you're a human being, and we all have these feelings. And so I truly am always curious about what you think of something. Also because we just have so much fun together, and we laugh so much. And I think there was a relief to me, even though I was really disappointed that Trump won, and honestly horrified that some of the senators got reelected. One of them is in your state, it turns out. But it felt like, well, this is what the people want.
I think we need to take a look at why that happened. What are the issues that people are really concerned about? I think that was probably the biggest disconnect was, I think liberals thought that people were interested in, these social issues. When it came right down to it, people who were tired of paying too much for groceries and too much for rent, and they thought that border security was important, and they didn't feel safe. I think those things, all of a sudden, it was like, oh, that stuff does matter. And I don't know that the politicians were in touch with that.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I guess it takes a certain amount of ego to be a politician. Hopefully people are well-intentioned at the beginning. I would like our politicians, whether they be Republican or Democrat, to take responsibility. If Biden said, I'm going to be a one-term president, then that's what I wanted him to do. I started to lose respect. When he had that horrible debate with Trump, I thought he was going to stroke out. I truly did. I was like, shouldn't we stop this debate and make sure that this human being is okay? And we didn't. That's where we are in this, because I'm sure the ratings, went through the roof. When he called Trump a loser, I was like, are you guys 8 years old? Like little
it was horrible.
boys. It was horrible. This is our country. This is where we are. Like, are you kidding? As a Democrat and as a liberal, I hated how everything was handled. That if he had said, I'm a one-term president, and then we as a Democratic Party had a true primary and brought someone up that we really thought would be a good president, not beat Trump. Like, everyone is obsessed with him. And I think that's also part of the problem.
Yeah.
The Republicans are obsessed with him and the Democrats are obsessed with him. We can't talk about anything else except Trump.
Yeah.
Trump isn't even a Republican. Like, if we really get to it.
But that's why he won in 2016, because nobody wanted a politician. They wanted a businessman. They wanted somebody who could come in here and shake things up and drain the swamp, and wasn't the same old things that we've had.
As a Republican, you had your own heroes. So were you excited about this person coming in to ruin?
No.
I didn't think so.
I mean,
You're just telling me. You're saying that's why he won over people.
Correct.
And people were caught up in the celebrity of him as the apprentice, right? Being a New Yorker, we knew what a snake he was. My husband's an attorney. He's had a lot of attorneys in his career, as in Trump has. And they all talk. We knew as New Yorkers, this guy doesn't mean what he says, but everyone else seemed to be so enamored with this blustering celebrity.
On this podcast, I will never speak for Trump. I can only give what my opinions are, and my opinions are shaped both by, being a wife and a mother and a conservative, being raised conservative, a Catholic, being an entrepreneur. I mean, all of those things. And I differ on what the Republican Party does on a few issues, or what the Republican Party believes. So I don't think he's an upstanding guy. Now, I think he's got a great opportunity. And honestly, like, I feel like he's going to get some shit done
You
this
really
time.
think so?
Yeah, I do. I think he's so much more prepared. He really wanted to win this time. I think that if you listen to that Joe Rogan podcast that he did, all 3 hours of it, which I have not, he was not prepared to win the first time. He didn't think he was going to win. All of a sudden he won, and he was like, oh, shit, okay. I think he's going to be super effective.
How do you think he's going to be effective?
I think he's going to make America great again.
Oh, God.
Oh, God, I had to say it. I had to say it.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
No, honestly.
That makes me struggle with my love for you right now. I fucking hate that. When people wear those hats, and it's so tribal and it's so combative.
Wait, why do you see it as being combative?
Oh my gosh. Because living in New York, because I now live in New York and I'm actually in Utah right now. We spend time in both places. But in New York, the people that wear the Trump paraphernalia, they are really angry and really aggressive. This is something that was so upsetting. It was during COVID. I used to walk along the Hudson River just to be outside and get some air. I took a walk, and it was September 11th, which was such a tender, horrifying day for New Yorkers. I actually saw the first plane hit Tower 1 walking to a yoga class that morning. Like, it is in my cellular makeup that day. And it was a gorgeous morning again. And I'm walking, and all of a sudden, and I'm on the river, and I look out to the Hudson, and there are these boats with Trump flags, with their megaphones, and they're screaming, knowing that most of the people taking a run or a walk that morning along the path aren't Republican, aren't Trump supporters. And it was just like, yes, I guess there isn't a ton of anger. I understand that the working class has been completely ignored, and they've always been ignored. And he showed a light on them, and God knows we all want to feel seen, and we want to feel heard. And that part I understand. But to instigate on like the lowest level of the anger that it's just like, this is gonna happen. Where can we talk in that framework? How do we have discussion when there's that much? It's actually, I found it frightening.
Okay, so I will look at this from a different perspective and say that now September 11th is Patriot Day, right? I mean, that's what we call it, is Patriot Day.
I don't call it that, and I don't know any liberal person that calls it Patriot Day. And that's what's upsetting.
Wait, I know it's like on my calendar that like September 11th is Patriot Day.
Who coined that?
Oh, I mean, shit, probably Hallmark, but I mean,
right.
like it comes up as.
I don't know.
Am I making that up?
Listen, this is an interesting fact because maybe the media that you consume calls it Patriot Day. We don't, as New Yorkers, we don't call it Patriot Day. And that's the thing, like we were intimately affected. We have people that, people that died. I saw things that day. I hope, like, I can't get it out of my brain. It's a horrible day. And, when people come to, and I live down near the Trade Center now, and when people come to the memorial and they take selfies, it's like, that's part of this culture that I'm struggling with. Is like, hey, this is sacred ground.
Right.
This was one of the worst, I don't know, one of the worst days in U.S. history.
I will just tell you, in 2001, Congress designated September 11th as Patriot Day.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected. I didn't, but to me, so when you say that it's Patriot Day, does that give people the right to like pound their fists like gorillas? I mean,
no,
that's what it feels like.
Right. No, I get why you say that because that day obviously is much more triggering for you because you were there and you lived it and you have, all of the things that are associated with that day for you are completely different from me living at the time we were in Albuquerque and saw it on TV. So obviously we all have stories of, that day.
Of course. And even seeing it on TV, and they played it over and over and over again.
Yeah, right.
So traumatizing.
So what I'm saying, though, is because it is now considered Patriot Day in other circles, having the Trump supporters saying, we're taking this country back to people can be proud of this country and, we need to rally around being patriotic again. And I mean, so that's when I hear that there was a Trump boat parade on the Hudson, that makes sense to me, right? I get why that doesn't make sense to you.
But also, Jolene, like, it's one thing if it was just a bunch of American flags, but where I struggle, it's not just the American flags. It's then I think it's a cop flag that's like the colors are sort of blue and black with the American flag. Yeah. And then there's so much Trump where I didn't think we were supposed to idolize one human being. And that scares me. You know what I'm saying here? Like
I do.
They are holding him up as the savior.
So that's why we're here. That's why
we're here.
That is why we have so many things that we want to talk about, and I think that we want to share, and that I want your perspective on, and
I want yours.
See,
I do.
That is why we're here.
That's why we're here. How would you like to end this?
I'd like to end with the Would You Rather game. Here's my Would You Rather for you.
Oh God.
Would you rather have dinner with Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos?
Oh, my God.
Oh, come on.
No. Because here's the thing. One day, Josh and I, it was a weekend, we went to this restaurant downtown to have Italian food for lunch. And we walked in, and there was really no one there. And we sat at this table and there were all these bodyguards and we didn't understand what was going on. And we sort of looked in the corner, this corner booth, and there was this weaselly little guy and this woman and he looked like I was like, who is that? And Josh was like, that's Jeff Bezos. And I was like, no way. So I feel like I kind of had dinner with him.
So you've already had? Okay.
I think I have. But who would I rather? Gosh.
And it's just the two of you. You're at a table,
Ooh.
and it's just
Ooh.
the two of you.
So it's like a date.
No, it's not a date. He just asked you out to you won.
Oh, I won. This is
contest.
A gift to me.
Yeah.
And I get to go out with
Either Elon Musk
choice
or Jeff Bezos. And you can talk about anything you want at dinner.
I think I would choose Elon Musk. They both have incredible power, obviously. And they both have a ton of money, obviously. But Elon Musk has a direct contact, like a direct connection with what's going on in this next administration. And I'm very curious to pick his brain and understand what he believes, why he believes it, what his intentions are, and maybe if there's anything I could suggest in helping put the country a little bit back together again, that maybe we liberals, I don't know, that we could have a say or a seat at the table.
I feel like that's a fantastic opportunity. But don't you think that he was liberal once?
I think he was. So was Trump, by the way. Trump was too.
Yeah.
So, here we are. So am I supposed to ask you a would you rather?
Yeah.
Would you rather be stuck in an igloo for a month with food with AOC? Or, well, she's dead now, so that would be tricky, but AOC or Dianne Feinstein?
I mean, probably Dianne Feinstein. AOC
See, I
just
knew
turns
it.
me off.
I know it. I was like, I made this too easy for you.
No, I mean, how that's not
you'd
easy.
I knew you would go old school.
Yeah, I want the old lady.
Of course you do. You like those old people.
I do. Yeah, I would much rather. Because, you know what? Because she was part of a political team that wasn't as liberal as they are today. Like AOC, I don't even think I could talk any. I feel like there would be nothing that AOC and I could even have a conversation about.
Just as women, you couldn't have a conversation? She seems pretty cool to me.
She has fantastic red lipstick.
She has You could talk about red lipstick.
We could talk about makeup. Yep.
You could put makeup on in the igloo.
We could do each other's makeup.
There you go. Did you change your mind?
Nope. I'm sticking with Dianne.
All right.